The unexpected evening. The cafe lights twinkled like captured stars against the evening darkness, that warm glow spilling onto the sidewalk where Sarah Mitchell stood, clutching her phone with trembling fingers. She read the text message for the third time, hoping the words would somehow change. Sarah, I'm so sorry. Emergency came up. Can you please go to my blind date and explain? His name is Michael. Table by the window. EAJOU forever. Rachel. Sarah exhaled slowly, watching her breath form small clouds in the cool November air. After a 12-hour shift at the hospital, her feet ached, her scrubs were hidden beneath a worn cardigan, and all she wanted was her small apartment and a cup of tea. But Rachel was her best friend, her roommate, the person who had lent her money for textbooks when nursing school felt impossible. She couldn't say no. Pushing open the cafe door, Sarah was greeted by warmth and the rich aroma of coffee. The space was intimate, decorated with soft curtains and string lights that created pockets of golden illumination. She spotted him immediately, the man sitting alone by the window, checking his watch with the nervous energy of someone who feared being stood up. He wore a navy suit that fit him perfectly, his dark hair neatly styled. Even from across the room, Sarah could see the tension in his shoulders, the way he straightened the napkin beside his cup with precise movements. This was a man accustomed to control, to order, to things going according to plan. Sarah almost turned around. She didn't belong in this picture, not with her tired eyes, her simple clothes, her student loan debt that would take decades to repay. But she had promised Rachel. Taking a deep breath, she approached the table. Michael. He looked up, and Sarah found herself momentarily lost in his eyes, warm brown, with depths that suggested intelligence and something else. Loneliness, perhaps. A bone-deep weariness that matched her own. Yes, he stood immediately, extending his hand. His grip was firm but gentle. You must be Rachel. Actually, no. Sarah felt her cheeks flush. I'm Sarah. Rachel's friend. She had an emergency and asked me to come explain. I'm really sorry to waste your evening. Michael's expression shifted through several emotions, confusion, disappointment, then something that looked like resignation. He gestured to the chair across from him. Please, sit down. You came all this way. Sarah hesitated, but the kindness in his voice made refusal seem rude. She sat, acutely aware of how out of place she felt. Rachel really is sorry. Something came up with her family. It's all right, Michael said, though his voice carried the weight of someone for whom this was not the first disappointment. He studied her for a moment. You look exhausted. The observation was so direct, so honest, that Sarah laughed, a short, surprised sound. Is it that obvious? I recognize the signs. I've worn that expression often enough myself. He signaled the waiter. Have you eaten? I should really go. Please. Something in his tone made Sarah pause. Not demanding, but quietly hopeful. I took the evening off, which I rarely do. The babysitter is with my daughter until 9. And honestly, it's been a long time since I've had adult conversation that didn't involve quarterly reports or board meetings. Sarah found herself nodding before she fully decided. Okay. But just coffee. I can't let you buy me dinner under false pretenses. A small smile crossed Michael's face, the first real one she'd seen. Fair enough. They ordered coffee, and as the waiter departed, uncomfortable silence settled between them. Sarah wrapped her hands around the warm cup when it arrived, savoring the heat against her perpetually cold fingers. You mentioned a daughter, she said finally, because the silence, while not uncomfortable, seemed to be waiting for something. Michael's entire demeanor changed. His shoulders relaxed, and genuine warmth flooded his features. Lily. She's 5. Smart, stubborn, and completely convinced she can negotiate everything like a business deal. You have no idea where she gets it. Sarah laughed. I work in pediatrics. 5-year-olds are master negotiators. You're a nurse? Interest sparked in Michael's eyes. Yes. At General Hospital. Pediatric wing. She stirred her coffee, watching the cream swirl into patterns. It's hard, but I can't imagine doing anything else. When a sick child finally smiles, or a worried parent gets good news, those moments make the exhaustion worthwhile. Michael leaned forward slightly. That's how I feel about my work. I run a tech company, software development for medical applications, actually. Everyone thinks it's about the money or the prestige, but really, it's about creating tools that help people. That make doctors' jobs easier, patients care better. That's beautiful, Sarah said softly, and meant it. She had expected a CEO to talk about profit margins and market share. Instead, she heard passion and purpose. My colleagues think I'm naive, Michael admitted. After my wife died 3 years ago, they expected me to sell the company, scale back. Instead, I threw myself into the work. It was the only thing that made sense when everything else fell apart. The confession hung in the air between them, raw and unexpected. Sarah recognized it for what it was, the words of someone who rarely shared, speaking to someone he sensed might understand. I'm sorry, she said. About your wife. Thank you. Michael's fingers traced the rim of his cup. Lily was only 2. She barely remembers her mother, which breaks my heart in ways I can't articulate. I'm trying to be enough for her, father and mother both, but most days, I feel like I'm failing. You're not. The words came out more forcefully than Sarah intended. I see parents every day at the hospital. The good ones, the bad ones, the ones barely holding on. You took an evening off to go on a blind date because you're trying to build a life beyond work. That's not failing. That's fighting. Michael looked at her with such intensity that Sarah felt her breath catch. How do you do that? Do what? See straight through to the heart of things. You've known me for 20 minutes, and you just understood. Sarah shrugged, suddenly self-conscious. Maybe because I've been there. Different circumstances, but the same feeling. He worked double shifts to pay off school loans and help my mom with her medical bills. Most nights, I'm so tired I can barely think. My friends have stopped inviting me out because I always say no. I tell myself I'm building towards something better, but sometimes I wonder if I'm just existing. Going through motions. But you came here tonight, Michael pointed out gently. When you were exhausted and had every reason to go home. You came because your friend needed you. Rachel would do the same for me. That speaks to the kind of person you are. The kind of friend you are. Michael paused, seeming to gather courage. Sarah, I know this evening didn't start conventionally, but would you consider staying for dinner? Not as a blind date, just as 2 people who understand what it's like to be tired and lonely and still getting up every morning to try again. Sarah knew she should say no. This man was a CEO, someone from a different world. After tonight, they would return to their separate lives. But something in his eyes, in the gentle honesty of his words, made her want to stay. Yes, she said simply. I'd like that. Dinner stretched into 2 hours. They talked about everything and nothing, favorite books,